Speaking of which, D, you with us?
Can you hear now?
No, I ain't with your ass. No. The fuck you mean am I with you?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. What do these crackers get a hold of your ass this New Year? What if you got one bald head dude on the one side, dreadlock? Boy, they got something for your asses over there. Meanwhile, what's happening, man? How y'all?
Man, better now, man. It's good to see you, man.
Who knows? You know. You just come on the scene busting shots, man. At least let me grab my vest.
Man, this is 2023, man. Ain't y'all tired of fronting, man? We fronted the whole of 2022, man.
Man,
we
come on, man.
The whole year, D. We fronted the
whole year, man. I said, listen, I'm gonna throw somebody under the bus right now. I sent a series that, well, you know, I sent you something this morning, Jared, and you, Kalonji, talking about your homeboy Meek Mills when he rolled up in here.
Give us that report real quick.
Yeah, I was gonna.
No. I'll give it to you. Good. I just want to tell you that I went back and forth and I asked. Remember, I asked you, Jared, the question: name one revolutionary that came out of the so-called hip hop generation. Name one. And nobody named one. So I said, okay, cool. That's understandable. One brother wrote me back telling me how, what's his name? The big fat dude from the Bronx. What's his name?
Africa Bambaataa.
Fat Joe.
Fat Joe. Yeah, listen. They told me how Fat Joe and Jay-Z, you understand, have contributed to revolutionary movements on the DL. So I wrote him back and said, well, because they kicked you some money. I said, because they kicked you some money on the down low. What does that mean? I asked for revolutionaries that came out of this genre of music for an entire generation. Every generation has a soundtrack. Huh?
Right on.
And in the soundtrack of the 20s, we had artists like Bessie. We had artists that was moving the thing forward. If not on a revolutionary scale, at least on a radical interpretation of black folks and their condition in their music. I asked who now? Nobody could name none. Then this brother tells me about Panther Cubs. I said, so what are you talking about? Somebody's a Panther Cub because they can't choose their parents? Or it's because of their politics? He tells me how, well, you got Panther Cubs that's doing radical and revolutionary work right now. So I turned to Kalonji, who's my foremost authority on the work of activism of Panther Cubs, to provide me with a name if you got shame. Well, you see, that shit rhymes. See, I could be a rapper too. You see, provide me a name if you ain't got no shame of one Panther Cub that has adopted the politics of the Black Panther Party and the practice of the Black Panther Party rather than the legacy. Name one. Dick. Can't name none. Okay. So,
why you gotta throw me with the bus, man? You throw the whole bus, not under the bus. But go ahead.
Anyway, so I'm just saying. Now, to your question about me, okay, this was funny. All right, so I know some of the. Hey, I got my drivers here. Stop laughing, brother.
Oh Lord.
So look, I was there at the concert, right? Because I happen to know some of the subcontractors, you know, for setting up the facility and everything. You know.
Hold on. Tell us about the concert. Where was it at? Where's the concert at? And tell us about which concert.
What concert? Set up. Give us the context for the concert. And
this was the Black family, the African family concert at Black Star Stadium on the 30th, on the 29th and the 30th.
In Ghana.
So Meek arrived here on the 28th, I think. And of course, you know, given his status and given his, you know, notoriety, he booked into the most expensive hotel in Ghana, one of the most expensive hotels in Ghana, that at that moment was packed with Africans from the diaspora. I ain't never seen so many black folks in one place at one time in Africa. Okay, black folks from America in one place at one time, then in the Kopinski Hotel. Now you can look up the name Kopinski and figure out where that comes from. But anyway, he booked into this hotel, this 5-star hotel, and in preparation for the concert. So I was there before, and I was supposed to, I know the folks. So everything was cool. Then when he was arriving, I was there. In fact, I was at the gate when he arrived with my driver. I said, you know something? We should roll on inside with him in case something go wrong, right? And I changed my mind. So we drove off. A few minutes later, we got the video. He's walking like he's in the land of Oobla-dee like this. He's all stiff and stuff, walking through the entrance, and they jacked his iPhone, tussled him, and pushed him about and everything. He could obviously see he was scared to death, but he got through and everything. But this is nothing unfamiliar when artists from the diaspora come here, to go to a concert, because you have a lot of young folks here who have bought into the hip hop notion and idea of gangster rap. They done bought that wholesale, you see, and they bought into the ostentatious consumption of material things that they see in these videos. So if you look at most Afrobeat videos, you couldn't tell whether they was made in Africa or whether they was made in the US, except that the African videos have classier fashion. They fashions, these young designers, they're really good. And they shine in these videos. But all the other things, the ostentatious lifestyle, the slick cars, the Bentleys and all this stuff, they're all part of the video culture in Africa now, you see? And so my point was that Meek Mills, like all of these Negroes that come here, they never include the African diaspora that lives here in arranging and managing any of their visits and tours. Never. They always get in with, whether they're Nigerians, whether they're Ghanaians, promoters and promoters and managers who are tied to the class, are tied to the political elite, who are tied to the rich in the country, you see? And so therefore, it's not, so in Africa, it's not so much who you know, it's who knows you that counts. Right. So when they see our brothers and sisters coming from here, and they have a lot of money, they have wealth, and they have all these other attributes, they immediately say, oh, this is how we gonna pimp these Negroes. This is how we gonna play them, you see? And then we all fall into it. When Rick Ross came here, he was talking about dual citizenship. You had Cardi B, former hood rat. She came through, she was talking about Africa was her home and all of this stuff. And this sentiment that we have for our motherland is used against us and exploited. When they're gone, all of us who are still here, living here, Ghanaians consider us white folks. I mean, they don't consider me that because, I cuss them out on cue. So when they see me, they think I'm just crazy. And I'm on some crazy stuff, Right. But I'm saying this to say that we don't utilize what we have in the diaspora to empower ourselves anywhere in the world. We have more millionaires in the African diaspora than they have in Africa. Right. We have access to resources and stuff. And I know Jared has been keen on showing how black capitalism is a myth game when it comes to black people empowering themselves. We can't get no power through that. But in Africa, on the continent, just imagine if all of these icons that we have raised to the status of cult leadership simply because they went from streaming simply because they went from slinging yayo to lyrical wit and music. If we if just 5 of them contributed chump change to a consortium that could empower African grassroots infrastructures, Africa, at least in certain parts of Africa, with such investment, can be transformed. But none of these Negroes are thinking about that. Now, Meek Mills is going to be, I think it's today, he might be declared the Chief Boogaloo. You see? So he'll be declared the chief. And you know why we get chieftaincies in Africa when we show up here in Ghana? Because they know that once they enshrine you as a chief and give you a name, that you are therefore obligated somehow, ethically, morally, principally, spiritually, whatever, to contribute to the development of that particular chieftaincy in village or town. Okay? So they made you a chief for your money. They've been pimping us since the slave trade, bro. I mean, big pimping. Pimping ain't easy over here, but they get over with it. They've been pimping us. And I'm really bitter and angry that our people don't see that these artists don't see that. That's what pisses me off. It's not so much that they're doing this to us, but we let them do this to us. Huh? So every time there's a big concert and a big name that comes over, you know, from the US, we get played.
Right.
And they go back to when Jay-Z came here, they had him. Did you see the pictures of Jay? He was on the camera talking about he was Sheikh Boogaloo. And he went in his ancestral chart. They had this Negro on the camera with African gear on and everything. You know? I'm serious.
So what?
But no, everybody shoots past the fact. Everybody shoots past the fact that Jay-Z took his honeymoon in Cuba. Of all places, he took his honeymoon, his anniversary in Cuba. Remember that, Jared? When him and Beyonce celebrated their anniversary, he took a trip to Cuba.
And it caused a little controversy. Because they were worried about Obama's relationship with the embargo. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I think they're interfering with our reception now.
Yeah,
you froze.
We got you. You good? You back? We hear you now.
Yeah, Jared, I know you remember that, didn't we? Because at that time, Assata was being pushed up and publicized as the most wanted on the FBI most wanted list, that she was a fugitive, and that if any type of reconciliation with Cuba went down, it had to include her repatriation or return to the United States to face charges.
Right.
I think that was around that time. So I said to myself, damn, why he picked there for anniversary? Out of all the places in the world, why did he pick sanctioned, embargoed Cuba? But do I complete the thought? And since then, it's come out on certain circles that the Cuban government was approached on the down low if that could be worked out. And they was approached on the down low by people in his entourage.
Right.
Now, that's not to say he was complicit with that or he was cognizant of that. Probably not. But my point is how it constantly manipulated and used.
But that goes back to even what we were saying about Pele, Muhammad Ali, the state's attempts to use celebrities, black celebrities. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Jay-Z and Beyonce's honeymoon in Cuba was not orchestrated and then used for some other purpose, even without them being aware. Do we have them back?
Yeah. So we talked about that.
I think I'm back.
Yeah, you back. We talked about just what you're talking about in 2013. I actually just posted that on Black Power Media a few weeks back when we talked about the bounty on the side of being upped, and also Jay-Z and his entourage going to Cuba during that particular piece, doing the bidding for Biden. For Obama. Well, Biden and Obama, really. So I think that we should definitely put that in the chat, because that was a very important convo, because we're talking about that was literally 10 years ago now. You know what I mean? And it's the same like you just said, it's the same two-step. It's not even, they don't even switch the game up. Like you said, they'll hit you with a little bit of money, hit you with that crown, and give you the opportunity to roam around the motherland as if you're some type of gift. But yeah, it needs to be more checking. Like you said, they got him for his iPhone, but we need a little bit more than that. Perhaps we could trade one of those guys for Mumia. You know, what can we get out of that?
But you know something, Kalanji? You know, although we may feel somewhat disheartened or somewhat dismayed by all of this, the thing is that it's nothing that we can't fight back against. It's nothing that we can't hold other people accountable to. Let me give you an example. In many of the European countries, in which a lot of these artists' records are sold, and they do concerts, they stream live on Spotify. In fact, Spotify is the one that sponsored this concert with Meek Mills. It was Spotify. Okay. And the fact that they do these things, and then when you look at Africans, ordinary Africans, even Africans who have who have a job and everything, in many of these countries, including almost all of the Arab countries in North Africa, a black person, a sub-Saharan African with a passport from an African nation, whether it's Nigeria, whether it's Ghana, whether it's Liberia, cannot get a visa into their country. It's a long process to get a visa. But these same countries will invite our artists to come and perform with no visa. I mean, they just grant them everything they need to come here. Now, what am I saying about this? That if our artists, if the African diaspora refuse to travel to countries that discriminate against Africans in terms of visas, in terms of their access to being able to travel, we should not perform there. We should do just like we did with South Africa. Boycott them. Make it plain. Put information out. Why is it that in order to go to Dubai, the biggest shopping mall on the planet, that they got a long list of about 8 or 9 or 10 African countries that they will not give a visa to? Serious. This is Dubai. And we look at the World Cup. We say, well, look at all these black folks that was at the World Cup in Africa, right? I mean, in Qatar at the World Cup, right? All of those people that you saw at the World Cup were the children and relatives of diplomats and businessmen who were in that country, who was in Qatar. Right. You understand what I'm saying? That's how they got there. Ordinary Africans, they couldn't travel there. In fact, you should see what Africans got to go through to make Hajj, a religious pilgrimage to Saudi Arabia. You should see what they go through. You see? So we need to understand that unless we exercise our collective clout, politically, economically, and culturally, we're going to always be treated like this. We're going to always be pimped. We're going to always be abused. And that's what pisses me off, is that these artists don't even want to hear anything like this. And when they do hear it, they make like, hey, ain't nothing I can do personally. You see? And this is what I think 2023 is going to show, because given the nature of global politics, given the nature of how it seems like the West is headed towards war over the Ukraine and other places, we see that the destabilization of Africa is proceeding under AFRICOM on a whole different level. Then we have to begin to understand that we have, as an African diaspora, have to look out for ourselves first. I mean, the president of Ghana just gave a speech, you understand, criticizing the African diaspora, calling us, you understand, opportunists, calling us naive. When this guy is the same guy that's been begging the IMF for money, talking about how wealthy Africa is. Well, if we're so wealthy, why are you begging the IMF? Right. Right. This is the same guy that wants to build a cathedral on the backs of the African poor right here in Ghana. He wants to build a cathedral. I think it's an $18 million endeavor. 18. He wants to build a cathedral. Meanwhile, people don't have no sanitation. They don't have no health care. They got poor roads. They spend less than $1 a day to feed inmates in this country. But he wants to purchase a cathedral because he's Catholic. Well, the Pope in Rome appoints the bishops all over the world. Huh? Ask the Pope to build the goddamn cathedral. Huh? The Catholic Church is a multi-billion-dollar a year company. Get them crackers to build a cathedral here. But no, he wants Africans to do this. Okay? And it's the same one, the same president is the one that was kicking the Willy Bobo with your homeboy. What was that guy? Boyce Watkins and all these black capitalists. They was all kicking the Willy Bobo, taking group pictures together during the day of return, the so-called day of return. These Negroes. You couldn't even get into a meeting during the so-called day of return if you didn't have a wristband. It was exclusively invited. So they invited every Negro they could think of that was pro-capitalist, that was a reactionary, and they all came here. They all posted up here talking about how they were so relieved to be back in Africa. And they was getting instant passports. Huh? It's crap. It's game. And I just wanted to throw that out there. Wish everybody Happy New Year.
Hey, before you hey, the shit started himself. Listen, you ain't getting off that easy. I want to know, because I unite with what you're saying, right? How does that trickle down to the current state of the movement? Because we have similar issues. Playing crackers advocate, we have similar issues amongst folks in the movement.
Come on, man.
Lot of
got too many advocates.
Liberalism.
How you gonna advocate for mother? Got a monopoly on advocates. Come on, man. He don't need you to advocate. Just say it straight up. You understand?
Yeah.
The enemy's position is this.
Yeah. So much liberalism in movement. How do we combat that? Because I think that before we can really check any artists, we have to start with our own quote unquote house. You know, how do we deal with that?
Kalonji. They be ducking you since you've been activists. They be ducking us at home.
No doubt.
Don't act like we could call up and say, "Hey, Meek, you going to Africa? Yo, bro, let me pull your coat for something." That Negro ain't got. You don't have him in your Rolodex, and if you did, he ain't answering the phone.
No, I'm talking about beyond him. I'm talking about.
I mean, you had somebody that even said to me that, among the revolutionary rappers that they know, that Common is, they could count Common as one. Common? Really? This is the Negro that backpedaled when the right-wing racist was criticizing Obama for inviting him to the White House. Then he start backpedaling about
well, now he writes self-help books that and has friendly conversations with TD Jakes, and so Common. I mean, he does movies now. He's like a silly actor now. He's not even.
So
what I'm saying is, we doing this to ourselves, Jared. You see, and the question that Kalonji asked, how can we sort of ameliorate this? How can we kind of counter this? We can't counter it because these Negroes, from the Jay-Z's down to little young NBA, whoever you want to call, little squirt, all of these, they don't talk to anybody that got revolutionary politics. Nobody.
Right.
And if they did, they're gonna tell you how they know more than you do.
Right. So I'm not even talking about them. I'm saying from folks who are involved in movement, these organizations, folks that practice liberalism. You have, as we talked about earlier, Rochelle McGee going on 60 years on lock. You have Ronza Bowers almost 20 years overdue coming out. Of course, Dr. Matulu's out. Of course, they brought Sundiata out. How can we apply full court pressure? How can we apply pressure right now to get this liberalism and other nonsense in check? Do you think it's possible, or do you think we just gonna be banditos?
I think you're breaking up.
Okay.
No,
can you hear me now?
I think that you were fine. I think Dhoruba's not. His connection is
okay.
Because I heard you clearly. I don't think.
They may be breaking him up. Can you hear us right now, Dhoruba? D.
Say again.
Can you hear
me
us?
now?
Yeah, you was going in and out. You got to understand here they got a very limited, and so when you have both video and audio on in a call, it gets gobbled up, sometimes cut off. It has
No
very
doubt.
limited bandwidth.
No doubt, no doubt. In a nutshell, I don't know if you can still hear us. It was.
I mean,
just,
you can go to just audio if you want, Dhoruba, if you think that would help. I don't know if you even heard that. Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see. Can
Dhoruba, can you hear us? And maybe you could try talk. No, he would need to be. Hold on, we need to do it. Hold on, we do it this way.
Your speech is garbled.
Okay.
If you turn your, I think he would have to turn his video off.
I tell you what, turn your camera off.
Okay,
and see if we can
I
hear you
don't think that's going to work. Let me see.
If you just stop your camera, yeah, you're good. You're good. Your audio is now. We're here.
Yeah, yours sound a little better.
Okay.
Yeah, because we still hear you fine.
Am I clear to you guys?
Yeah, you're good now. You hear us pretty good?
Clear?
Yes.
Well, y'all are coming in garbled, but if I'm going out clear, that's all that's needed for the moment.
Yeah, that's cool. So if you understand what we're saying, then that'd be great. Yeah, so in a nutshell,
I think
state of the movement, how do we put the reins on it now?
The only way to put the reins on it is to take these so-called icons that are now running around, you understand, fostering the notion that somehow, there is success because of their artistic skills, is to get them to try to understand that all art is political. That's a very basic understanding. All art is political. And whether they intend to convey a negative political message or a positive political message doesn't detract from that fact. And if all art is political, then they at least must take political considerations in what they do, what they say, and how they use their image in our community. And how can we hold them accountable? Then is a serious question. Then it's another question. But at least we should be able to make artists understand, entertainers, artists, or whatever. I mean, sports is an entertainment. Okay, it's part of the entertainment industry. So how do we make sports figures, sports stars, understand that they are not the spokespeople, they are not the spokespersons for Black people, that their opinion should remain their personal opinion, and that when they stick a mic in their face, they should go back to the counterintelligence memo that says that Black youth should be made to understand that if they become Black revolutionaries, they would be dead revolutionaries, and that the only admirable course for them is to become people or individuals that white society could respect or endorse, namely an entertainer, a ball player, or someone who is in the art world. You understand? And these are the type of ideals that we should aspire to. And that COINTELPRO memo has proven to be accurate, correct, and on the money. And I said the only way we're going to change this is that as things get worse for the empire, it's going to get worse for Black artists. And if they don't understand, we take what little wealth and notoriety that they have at this moment and invest it in the future, not only for themselves and their children, but for the whole of Black people. We need to have our artists invest in us, not in some bullshit notion about selling sneakers. You have a sneaker contract, or you own the corner sports goods store now that you go in there, and now you employing people in the community. That's some Mickey Mouse nickel and dime stuff, man. And Jared is one of the first people that I know who constantly has become a pariah of the so-called black capitalist simply because of his basic analysis of white supremacy and capitalism. I mean, listen, I be watching some of the programs that Jared's on and listening to some of these Negroes, you understand, talking about black wealth and black buying power. And I said, man, how come this isn't obvious to these people? What Jared is saying should be obvious. And then I realized that they don't want to hear that. And that what they're saying, they have a vested interest in it because they spent their whole life trying to be what white folks said was successful. That's it.
Word.
They've been abused by white supremacy and capitalism so much that they think they deserve to get beat. And if they don't get, and if they beat the system, then they're better than the system. And you ain't really focused and trying, because you too could succeed if you use my formula. So you got the Boyce Watkins on there telling you how to invest. You got all these other poop butt niggas talking about, excuse my language, poop butt Negroes on there telling you how this is the path to success. You understand? And this is the path to glory. You know how to pimp Wall Street. Now picture that. Picture Wall Street getting pimped by some poop butt Negroes. I mean, they put the P in pimp Wall Street.
That's
So
the
it was like the cryptocurrency. Remember all the black folks with the cryptocurrency when it came out? How
Don't
we
get
was
Jared
missing the
started,
boat?
man.
I don't want to get Jared started. That's right.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, that look on his face. There's that look on his face.
He's starting to lean back now, like that. You know, his head get tilted to the side. He go like that.
I know, right?
It's about to be on. Then he throw the stutter step.
I don't want to be. I told you so, but I told you so.
Then he throw that stutter step on. It's over. So hey, Dhoruba, it's 2023. What's the plan, man? How do we get these PPs out? How do we move forward? How do we organize? You know, what are some of the joints that we should revisit? Because we know, even going back to your book, Beggars on Horseback, these are things that you've been talking about for decades. You know, what's the plan? Where do we need to be right now?
Man, I'm asking you that. That's my question. Listen, I think first of all we have to have a movement, right. And I think we know that in the United States there is no real left.
Right.
You know, there's no left in the United States, and the Black liberation struggle, even the Black civil rights movement, was the leadership of what was historically a left in America. You know, I mean, we know that most of the rights that women claim now, we know that most of the rights that gay and lesbian folks claim now were the consequences of our struggle for Black liberation and human rights in the 50s and 60s. You see? But do they still, have we heard from our LGBTQ community? Have we been giving our props to that? Nah. Have we been giving our props to this by the so-called women's rights movement? Nah. You see? When Thurgood, this Negro on the Supreme Court there, what's his name? The one that was trying to smash on
Clarence Thomas.
Lolita,
Clarence Thomas.
What's his name?
Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas.
Uncle Clarence. Yeah, my brother. See, that's what Cornell West would call it. My beloved brother. Oh, Cornell. You see, that's what he would call it. We might have disagreements, but it's not a disagreement of the soul. It damn sure is a disagreement of the soul and spirit. It's like saying we all worship one God. I don't worship the same God the Ku Klux Klan be burning crosses for.
Right.
You know? So let's not get into that. You know, and that's another thing that I got a beef with Jared about. And when we was talking about Deion in sports, I keep telling folks, if he would have left God out of it, it would have been all good. But when he's talking about he got a collect call from God that he had to pay for.
Who, Jared or,
How you gonna say-
No, Deion said
you
that. That
gonna
was
say
his
something-
pitch. Deion was
okay.
saying that his decisions are made because God called him collect, and he answered. He had to answer.
That's right.
He-
That's what he said.
Yeah, God
Now,
called him
why
collect.
couldn't he have
That's what I
just
said. I said, God
even
don't
if-
have a
let's just say
universal
he got
calling
that.
card.
He called him on
Listen,
WhatsApp.
right? Right, he got the call collect.
You gotta call me
But
collect.
I think he was trying to prove.
Lord.
I think he was trying to show this was a call he couldn't refuse.
Right.
I think that's was his point,
what it
metaphorically
was.
speaking.
I'm trying to work with
I
you
think
on
that's
that.
what it was. But I'm just saying, he didn't have
He-
to bring God in. Even if God gave him a collect call, let's assume arguendo that was the case. All he had to do was say, "Look, I feel as a black person that I need to get into the HBCUs and try to change the culture, and help these black kids, get to the next level and develop them so that they could be, so HBCUs could be on the same level as every other college system in the country." So if he left God out of it, then when he took a better bag, then nobody could have faulted him for that. But when you say to black people, especially in the Baptist South,
Deep
that
South.
God sent you there, I mean, that's some
Mississippi.
TD Jakes shit. Yeah, Mississippi, that's some TD Jakes shit.
I didn't think TD
God
Jakes
sent
went to
me
Mississippi.
here. What same difference? But when you go, when you listen, you had videos of Deion in kids' school, in kids' homes. You understand? Listening to singing hymns and stuff. Okay, singing gospel music, praising the Lord Jesus. Oh, our boys coming to your school. Why did he have to do that? All he had to do was say, "It's on me. This is what I want to do for black people," and he did it. He did do it. Okay, and the fault is not with him. The fault is with all these black millionaires, the same ones we talking about, the Jay-Z's and all of them. P. Diddy gave $1 million to Jackson State. All of these Negroes, if they said, "Well, look, he's doing such a good job in the historically black schools, that let's each kick in 500,000, and we'll top Colorado. We'll top Colorado's $5 million a year. We'll make it $6 million a year for him to stay there." Deion would have stayed. I believe he would have stayed.
So when is the sports show with you and
Okay.
Hiram coming, man? Because I keep hearing these rumors that you and Hiram are going to be doing the sports show on BPM.
That's Jared's doing. That's what Jared's doing.
Jared.
Jared is the.
I feel like you agreed to it
behind the
though.
scenes trying to get us. I agreed to it. Well, in
I
principle,
feel like
This is
in
true.
principle.
Not in actuality. I
okay.
agreed to it in principle.
See,
Oh,
man, and I told myself.
You're right. I did agree to it. I said that was a wonderful idea.
He
And
said
if
in
it came
principle,
to
not
fruition,
actuality.
now I know. I'm starting to sound like Kanye West, right? But no, I'm saying, but I mean, I think you agree with me, Jared, that if black alumni and wealthy people, especially wealthy black men who admire or who appreciate black education, okay, and who are wealthy, if they had put together a pay package for Deion and say, "Man, later for them crackers in Colorado, okay, we'll give you $6 million."
see, but
Now, if he chose,
there's a couple problems I have with that, Dhoruba, just very quickly. One would be,
I'm about to be the referee.
well, one, just very quickly, one would be that black capitalists are trying to be like white capitalists. And their white
That's
capitalist friends are always telling them, which is the one cardinal reality or truth for capitalists: don't invest your own money. So the
don't do
one
what?
reason I could see, you don't invest your own money. So and that would be, and that opens the door to the first wave or level of problems, that even black people with relative degrees of wealth are not going to want to use their own money as an investment to support someone else's salary, especially when there can be no return on that investment, which is my number 2 point, there can be no return on the investment, because even if you paid Deion more than he would make at Colorado, the amount of total revenue that he would have to operate with for recruitment, for paying players under the table and all that other kind of stuff is nowhere, because Colorado has the 80,000 seat stadium, is part of the, what is it? The whatever big conference that has the enormous ad revenue and TV budgets. No HBCU has that infrastructure, has that ability to be for advertisers worth the investment. And then the people who graduate, the last point I would raise is that the people who graduate from HBCUs don't make enough money to contribute back in to do what the boosters at Colorado are doing. So my point is that my issue with Deion was similar to yours. If Deion used his time there to expose this colonial or neo-colonial reality of, and instead of turning it into this whole thing of God called me and I'm doing what I'm demonstrating what I'm the revolution, I'm doing this for the people. If he had avoided all of that and said, look, this is all I can do because this is the context I'm working in, and then he went on to Colorado, I wouldn't have had any real issue with what he did. But he didn't do that. He presented a revolutionary path, which is what black capitalists do, and then they show you how limited it is when they go get that white money, which is all that there is.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Well, I kind of agree with you on that. I kind of agree with you on that part, though, Jared. But I still think that if he had, it came out later how the administration at Jackson State was jacking money from him, how he had contributed almost half of his salary to improving the facilities there for these kids, which in turn brought on sponsors to improve the rest of the facilities and all of this stuff. He had a lot of black celebrities and stuff come through that was making contributions. But I think basically what you're saying is true, that he is also, even though he has taken a different path to how he's got to where he did, he also fell victim to that idea and that notion that investment in black institutions had to somehow pay better, somehow be more lucrative than investments in white institutions. Therefore, to invest in a black institution, you were taking risks that you wouldn't normally take if you wisely used your money elsewhere. You see,
right.
So that,
but he kept putting it, but he kept putting it back on black graduates not kicking back money, and black universities not But that's what he kept saying, and he kept saying HBCUs haven't organized themselves and all this other kind of stuff.
But they have.
Is it me, or are these guys just overpaid as a whole? Shit, you're getting $5 million to coach. I do understand, comparative to some of these other coaches, I understand that particular piece, but you're not struggling. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it's hard out here for you to survive and whatnot, and to build whatever kind of empire you're building. And I think
he wasn't making $5 million. He was making 300-something thousand a year. And then he had coaches under him that was making far less than that. And then when you look at the salaries of coaches in the SEC or in the other conferences, they was making stupid money. So he said from the beginning that if he got a job offer that was more lucrative, he would look at it. But all I'm saying, he should have left God out of it, especially when you're dealing with black people. You see, and so black people feel betrayed because of that. It's one thing for black businessmen or black professionals or even workers to understand somebody taking a better paying job.
Right.
But he made it look like his calling at HBCU was some type of messianic calling that he couldn't back away from. You see what I'm saying? And he ain't Jesus. He didn't go to the cross and get crucified.
That's why I say Mississippi.
If he was Jesus, then I could understand if he stayed there and got crucified.
Right.
And say, I've turned down $5 million in Oakland, but I'm still here. Y'all can just mess over me.
I mean, damn,
Underpay me. I'm still here.
I think Al Sharpton make more than him. But anyway, this is our first episode.
Why you gonna start on that, brother? Why you want to start? You know what? You got the two wrong people on here to mention Bobblehead Al.
Hey man,
You
look
know
here,
that.
man.
I thought I dropped the ball when I said Boris Pockets. I thought Jared was gonna go off.
I thought he was gonna lose it too, man. I see he even got darker around the hairline.
Maybe I should mention Roland, and then you would have went off.
Hey, listen, man. We want to bring you back on. This is our first episode of Guerrilla Intellectual University, right? So we definitely want to have you back on to talk about a number of other different things, you know, that
aren't you doing a symposium, a lecture series? Aren't you doing a lecture series this week or something?
Yeah, yeah, that's supposed to be that Saturday. What we was just talking about. Jared's looking like
right, yeah.
Jared looking at you like this is his first time.
I was confused. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. But we'll, maybe you could join us on that.
That's true, right? You do a lecture series, right?
Yeah. That's gonna get started. But we plan on doing the same thing on BPM, some type of with Guerrilla University, bringing on different folks to actually teach. So it's going to move beyond just a show itself. But I think that political education, if I'm not speaking too soon, will be the center of what it is we're looking to bring to the table. All right.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm traveling tomorrow. I'm coming back to New York tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, so we make that sooner than later then.
Well, I'm only staying 10 days.
We get you in 10 days.
I need to get out as quick as possible, man. I don't know when the hammer gonna fall on you guys. So
hey man, we'll make sure you're here, brother. Don't trip.
Well, I'm south of the Sahara on the eve of Armageddon, so I'm good.
Hey man, hey, hell is hot no matter where you stand on the
It's 92 right now. So how is it there where you at?
Let's say you want to act like that. Oh,
okay. If I was to turn this around and you can see out my door, you can see how beautiful it is outside.
Wouldn't even want to see it.
Huh?
Hey Jared, see how you want to act now. When you live down here with us, you know what I'm saying? When I helped move him down here, it was all good. But now all of a sudden he want to go back to Africa. You know what I'm saying?
All of a sudden, I've been here since 1993.
Right on.
Start trouble and jet out, right? But
this wasn't whimsical, brother. Not at all.
Okay. Right on.
But anyway, man, I'm sorry I went on a rant on you guys on the second.
No, it's all good. We want more of them. We're gonna have you back on and make it as regular as we can. And we just need to get.
But I want y'all to really ask these questions to these performers and these artists. We need to make an issue out of the fact that they're performing in countries that won't even give visas to Africans.
Right.
What is with that? You see?
Hey man, look here, man. Hey man.
And what don't even give a visa to a Liberian. Won't even give a visa to a Ghanaian.
Hey man, you was talking about Deion. I mean, hell, they wouldn't give clean water to Jackson where he was at. So shit. I mean,
that's
true. So he arguing about his check. Shit.
Right.
He can't even get a good glass of water.
But we need to understand too that Jacksonville, according to the books, the mayor is the son of a Pan-African nationalist.
Yes, we rode down there together to his funeral.
Right. Which brings me to my next point, is I asked the brother, which I mentioned to you earlier, what's a Panther Cub? What does that mean?
Right.
You have parents that were a Panther, or you had parents that were in the RNA. And so what are you doing now? Oh, you're carrying out the program and the politics of the Black Panther Party, and you ask yourself how?
Right.
When we got the political prisoners that we have in prison that are hardly ever mentioned, that we got buffoons who could stand up in the Black community, that we got how you get that money? That's your money? Oh, okay. I just want to make sure y'all ain't snatching my money to pay this guy. Yeah, get a receipt, brother.
Only
I'm
Dhoruba
sorry.
can
I
have
was
a
no that.
discussion
I'm
about
sorry.
this.
I'm sorry. I just got a plumber just did some work here, and I was about
Okay.
to jack. I was about to jack his pay.
We thought that was the farmer. We was making sure, you know.
No. I was about to jack his pay. You know, I'm all about the working class.
No doubt.
Believe me, I'm all about the working class. But I understand how the working class could be exploitive of an individual like me who's broke. You understand? So what?
Yeah, but
Oh. Anyway, I'm only joking. So no, I'm saying, this is what we mean by a movement. I know, Jared, do you remember when there was talk all in the media during the height of the so-called demonstrations after George Floyd's assassination and murder, that the hashtag movement Black Lives Matter was the new Black Panther Party?
Yeah, and one of our favorite discussions was when you were saying that Black BLM is not the Black Liberation Movement.
Yeah, but so we had individuals who were at one time saying that they were carrying out the legacy of the BPP. Now, where are they now? Where's Patrice Cullors and the other one and Black Lives Matter? Could you tell me where they at now?
They have a nice house in LA, right? And a YouTube deal.
Oh, cool.
no doubt.
So that means if I was homeless, I could go camp in their garage, right? Would I get shot? Would I get shot for trespassing?
Hey man,
Dhoruba, what do you think about the EFL in Ghana and Kwesi Pratt from the 90s Rawlings days? And thanks, Quicks Peps for the super chat.
I don't know who the EFL. What's the EFL?
I don't know.
Ask me for a clarification. Can
you clarify that?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Kwesi Pratt is who I call the last Bolshevik in Ghana, the last truly revolutionary Marxist in Ghana. But Kwesi is a good man. He's been consistent. He has an organization here of young socialists seriously struggling to try to change the dialogue and the paradigm here in electoral politics in Ghana. We need to really appreciate that, like in a country like Ghana, the ruling elite and the ruling political elite are usually from basically 5 or 6 families. Mm-hmm. And these 5 or 6 families go all the way back to the slave trafficking. Literally, ethnically speaking, and literally, linguistically, ethnically, culturally, regionally. So it's very difficult for someone like Kwesi Pratt, who has been a Marxist and a Leninist and a revolutionary Pan-African, to even be able to breathe here freely. You see? And so I really appreciate Kwesi Pratt. I think that I was in Venezuela with him during the elections there several years ago as an observer. And Kwesi Pratt is genuine. He's legit. And I think you should read his analysis of how Nkrumah was overthrown by the CIA. It's a very interesting read, and how the CIA conspired with certain families here, certain elites and political groups to overthrow and neutralize Nkrumah. And our irony of it is that I don't know if you saw the recent interview of that man that made of the producer that made the documentaries on Kennedy and Platoon. What's his name again?
Oliver Stone. I saw
Oliver Stone. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
Did you see that recent Jared, where he was talking about?
Yeah, I did. I know we're breaking up, but I did see it. But Dhoruba, unfortunately, man, I'm gonna have to run. I got to wrap. I hate to do it, but we're gonna have to, if we can, table this and extend this conversation next time, and maybe we can start with your point about Oliver Stone.
No doubt. As a matter of fact,
Well, the only thing I wanted to say about Oliver Stone was he said that he wasn't really aware of how nuclear energy could fit into the new paradigm of renewable energy in a beneficial way. He thought at first it might be a little dangerous, but after reading a particular book, he realized that nuclear energy could play a pivotal role in transitioning from fossil fuel. That was my point. And what I was going to say is right here in Ghana, in Accra, there's a place called Atomic Junction, where Kwame Nkrumah had started to build a nuclear plant so that Ghana could be energy independent, and it was sabotaged. That was my point. And so if Oliver Stone just got hip to this,
I saw him talk about that.
If he just got hip now to the value of nuclear energy and in relationship to transitioning from fossil fuel, Kwame Nkrumah saw that almost 54 years ago.
absolutely, without a doubt. Yeah, 60 plus. Yes.
And no, he never got any props. No one ever mentioned how far-reaching the vision of people like Kwame Nkrumah, Sekou Toure, and other Pan-Africans who had liberated their peoples at that time, how far-reaching their visions were for African people.
Hey, bro, with that in mind, it's a perfect way to end this segment. Salute to the works of Kwame Nkrumah, Robert Sobukwe, Sekou, Odinga, Patrice Lumumba, Winnie Mandela, and so many others that put that work in out there, home and abroad. You've been checking out Guerrilla Intellectual University. This is our first installment. This one might have been a little rough around the edges, but y'all know what we about to do around here. We about to put pressure on it. So we appreciate you. Appreciate Dhoruba stopping through, talking that talk. He started off cussing us out, but he good now. And we'll see y'all in a minute, man.
Yes, indeed. Peace, everybody. Thanks, everybody.